All right, today we're going to be talking about groups, and specifically in facilitating effective group discussion. And the reason we're talking about this is that often groups are smarter than individuals. So if you think of the old story about the blind men and the elephant, where all these blind men touching an elephant trying to figure out what it is, and one of them is touching the trunk and he thinks it's a snake, and the other one's touching the legs and he thinks it's a tree trunk, and another one's touching the tail and he thinks it's a broom. And they're all just seeing one piece of the picture. That's a metaphor for life, right? That when we're at work and we're working on different projects, we're each seeing a different aspect of that project or how it fits into the bigger picture of what we're trying to accomplish. And by coming together and sharing those diverse perspectives and sharing that information, we're able to see the whole picture instead of just seeing the part that we see. And that allows us to make better, more effective decisions. Humanity's success is largely due to groups. So when we think about human beings and what our superpower as a species is, we often think intelligence, right? We're the smartest animal, and that's why we're so successful as a species. That's absolutely part of it, but another part of it is the fact that we work together in groups. So for example, you might be smart enough to understand calculus. You're probably not smart enough to come up with calculus. And even if you are, even if you're those once in a many generations Isaac Newton level smart to come up with calculus, even he didn't come up with it from scratch, right? He was basing that on thousands of years of mathematical tradition. And that is what we have as a species, not just our intelligence, but our ability to learn something and then share it with a group, pass it on to the next generation. And so really our success as a species is entirely dependent on our ability to successfully interact in group settings. Now, of course, groups do really bad stuff too. We can think of historical examples like Jonestown or the Nazis. You don't even have to go that far, right? I'm sure that you've been part of a group project or a work team or an organization that makes really bad decisions, that functions really poorly as a group. And so groups offer this path to being very successful. In a lot of instances, groups are smarter than individuals, and yet there's a lot of threats to that too. There's a lot of reasons why that doesn't always turn out that way. So today we're going to focus on one specific aspect of groups, and that's on facilitating group discussion. And the main point of this lecture that I hope you take away, we're going to talk about some tools, but these tools are all designed to accomplish a specific thing, which is to get everyone to share their unique perspective. So like those blind men touching the elephant, the thing of value that we have in group discussions is our unique perspective. And if your boss comes in and says, and he's the one feeling a trunk, and he says, it's a snake, and everyone nods their heads and says, yep, boss, I feel a snake too. That's not an effective group, right? Everyone needs to be able to contribute their unique perspective. And so today we're going to talk about some tools that you can use to ensure that that happens. So we'll start out talking about some threats to group effectiveness, specifically conformity and obedience. And then we'll talk about tools that you can use to encourage everyone to contribute in order to facilitate group effectiveness.